Thank you very much. It's an absolute delight to be here, and thank you for inviting me, and welcome to all our distinguished guests who are here today. I think it's a pleasure to be able to work with this group. It's a very energized group. And I also want to say that the Y2Y network is extremely important for our work. We have the young professionals, we have the Junior Professionals Associate Program. They help keep us in touch with reality. We count on you to challenge us, keep us fresh, and point the way to the future. But the door must also be open for you to be able to make a contribution and contribute to meaningful change, not just here in the bank, but elsewhere. So today, I think you're all gathered here to discuss one of the most difficult and pressing issues facing not only the world as a whole, but particularly you and your generation. We're all conscious, I think, of some of the numbers, but I may reiterate those just because I think they are very important. We face, as you know, a landscape of growing unemployment. The IMF recently said that unemployment in Europe may stay where it is for at least 10 years. That has big implications. Unemployment, underemployment, lack of resources and promise, and a world that too often says to its young people, you have nowhere to go, and you come at the end of the priority list, not the beginning. We know that the 2013 World Development Report, and we have members of the team here, and they're going to interact with you today, is going to take a long, hard look at the realities of job creation and try and do it in a much more multi-sectoral, multi-dimensional way than we've done it before. So the challenge, I think, for all of us and for you meeting here is clear. We need to create overall job growth, and we need to take specific measures to address the unique vulnerabilities of youth. Why focus on youth? You already know the answer. Youth make up a quarter of the working age population worldwide, but nearly half of the unemployed. In many countries, the youth unemployment rate is 2 to 3 times higher than the adult unemployment rate. And we know also that having higher education doesn't necessarily improve your labor market opportunities. In Tunisia, a case that's very often been cited, unemployment is more than 40% for youth with higher education, compared to about 25% for those with primary education. The sad fact is that the current financial crisis has increased the number of young people who are neither studying nor working. And I think that's a big challenge for the societies, for communities, for households, for the world at large. And it has deeper implications that I think we need to look at, and I think the WDR will look at. One of them is that youth unemployment is a failure, a clear failure of the labor market. Young people looking for jobs for the first time, often lacking work experience, are likely to find much greater barriers to entry with potential employers because of their lack of experience, and are often passed over for more seasoned workers. Limited access to skills and training, and few formal institutions or pathways to help people find a job. We know, for example, in Lebanon, that 55% of those young people who found a job used personal contacts. Only 2% were able to use employment services. And that also has implications for ongoing elite capture and other issues. We also know that lack of opportunity creates a vicious cycle, opening the door to crime, violence, drug abuse, and health problems. And we know that dissatisfaction is spreading. From Tunisia to Tahrir Square to Occupy Wall Street, young people have taken to the streets, not always young people, but a lot of young people, and to the web, calling for a new social contract, saying that the current social contract, where one exists, is not serving them or their societies. So how can we begin to break that vicious cycle? I think today is a very important opportunity to work together and try and put some concrete pathways down for consideration. I want to suggest 4 possible core areas just to help get the discussion going, but they're by no means exclusive. First, I think we need to tease out the issues behind so-called jobless growth. Where will the productive jobs come from? What is the linkage between structural reform, growth, and employment? As countries move up the value chain, what does it mean for skills and job opportunities? How can we stimulate private sector-led growth? And how can we counter a preponderant view in many countries that it's only the government that is the sole job provider? Second, I think we need to look at the basics, something that Hassan mentioned, which means investing in children from the earliest stage of life. Early childhood development, primary, secondary, tertiary. We know that one additional year of schooling raises an individual's earnings by about 10 to 20% in low-income countries. And better quality schooling, and is very critical, it's not just what we call in England bums on seats. It has to be quality education, can raise earnings even more. We also know that there's a critical linkage between education and skills. And how do we make that leap to educate for a labor market, for a dynamic job market that may keep changing? I think this means we have to invest in better skills, better adaptability of young people, better flexibility. We know that in some countries some of these programs can work. In Latin America, the successful Jóvenes program is one that has helped young people be equipped to meet specific labor needs. But we also need, and I emphasize that, to educate for change and change education. Let me say that again. We need to change education and educate for change. And I think we have to recognize that the world that some of us grew up in, where you had one profession, one job, one skill from cradle to grave, is not the world of today. We have to be adaptable. We have to have lifelong learning and ability to re-skill ourselves, and we have to be equipped with the skills to help us with that flexibility. And finally, I think as this forum is great evidence, we have to expand partnerships and effective coalitions for change. And Hassan has mentioned some of the things the bank is doing. I will just mention a couple, but these are not just bank activities, and I think this is very important. It's the nexus of networks which is critical. The World Bank's Global Partnership for Youth Employment, I think with a special focus on the Middle East and North Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa, is a network we can expand and build on. The Youth Employment Network, which is a partnership between the ILO and the UN and the World Bank to both investigate, analyze, and advocate for better employment opportunities for young people, is one we should build on. The Adolescent Girls Initiative, which is promoting the importance of investing in girls' education, health, and job opportunities, and now helping about 20,000 adolescent girls and young women in poor countries. So let me summarize. I think we need to look at a broad agenda. We do need to look at the phenomenon of jobless growth. How jobless is it? How can we make growth, structural change, investment, and employment go together. We need to look at the kind of education we're providing. We need to look at differential and special programs for young people. We need to look very much at training and that transition from education to the labor market, and we have to look at partnerships. And underscoring all of that, I think, is that we have to muster the creative energy of all those of you in the room. I hope you will share your inputs with the WDR team. The WDR is now at a critical point where it's still trying to firm up some of its approaches. And I think the WDR is also a very important publication for the bank because it will broaden our approach to the issue of employment from just looking at the labor market. I think it's timely, it's important, it needs to be done. And I think that you also have a very key role in impacting our own way that we look at these issues. So I would like to hear, after this conference, I would very much like to hear back from the group about what your findings are. I would like to continue this dialogue. I would like to see how we can input that into some of the global dialogues. I'm also the World Bank Sherpa for the G20. The G20 is looking at some of these issues. I think we need to accelerate that and build on some tangible work. So I would say again, we value this group enormously. It's your future. If we've all got it wrong, you need to tell us. You need to take a part in shaping it for the future. And I think we have to fundamentally get out of thinking of a box that says that youth unemployment is just an issue for youth. Youth unemployment is an issue for families, for communities, for societies, and for the health of the global planet. And we want to partner with you to try and come up with solutions to what is a very challenging and intractable problem. Thank you very much.